How you do, cousins? It's old Rusty. I'm down here at the warehouse in level HQ 29, and I'm on the west side wing today. It was the easiest one to get booked. So we got a really fun, exciting video for you today. I'm going to go over lots of stuff. Jewelry, postcards, instruments, and various other small items indicative of the stuff that we sell weekly. It's been a rough couple of weeks, really low sales. This is across the board. It happens every year. March into April is usually one of the lower times. But this is going to be kind of a call to action video. Do you ever find yourself holding on to stuff longer than you should? You just can't bring yourself to list it? Or maybe things just pile up and you really need to get in there and grab some of these items, get them for sale. Well, that's me, and I'm going to show you some stuff I'm pulling out specifically for that reason to list and to try to sell this week. I'm going to give you some updates on some instruments and other stuff that we pulled in, some repair work we've done, and we're ready to sell some things, some creative ways of selling. There's just oodles of information in this video. We hope it helps you. Without further ado, let's jump into this right now and see what we got cooking today. What you're looking at, folks, is a variety of items which I've pulled out, we're going to talk about, and things that I'm going to try to sell this week. Right here we have some cool little items. These I bought at an estate sale about 3 weeks ago. Finally got them polished up a little bit. They were looking quite cruddy. But you can see that these are like little stoppers. They've got corks. These corks are newer, I believe, much newer than these, the toppers are. And they've been put in there. Doesn't even look like they've been used. Doesn't look like they've ever been wet. They certainly are not stained by any sort of substance. But this one right here is like this gentleman with a little mustachioed guy, and he's holding a sword, as you can see. It's really kind of cool, the way that this has been made. And then look at this beautiful sort of etched work on the top here. Really a pretty piece. Now, the thing about this is that I cannot tell whether or not this is pewter or made out of sterling silver. But I need to do some testing before I list it to find out really what it is. I've got a second one here. It's like a person, although it's almost made to look like a child, is sitting here with some sort of thing on his waist. He's in the nude, of course, but somehow he has something, I guess, glued onto his abdomen there. And, he's doing some work on this little wheel here. He's sanding something. It looks like maybe a little hatchet or something. Of course, those cherub, they need those hatchets, I guess. I don't know. But it's got similar scroll work, not exactly the same, but pretty cool looking. I don't know exactly what I'll be able to sell these for. It will depend on what type of metal it's made out of. But these are cool. I'll probably try to sell them individually. I'm going to need to measure the diameter of the cork here, because if a person's buying it with the intention of actually using it, they're going to want to know that this cork fits the top of whatever bottle they're planning on putting it in, right? So we'll get to that. This was cool. I bought and actually just sold a lot of them. I bought at an estate sale for $24 a bag of around 100 of these, what they call Liberty nickels or V nickels. And they say V because these are 5-cent pieces. They got a V on the back. This one is seen better days. It's not in great condition. But the reason I'm highlighting it, well, first I'll say that I sold a variety of these, about 80 of them for $100. So I paid, like I said, $24 for about 100. I sold 80 of them for $100. And now I've got others left. But as I was sorting through it, I found something very interesting. Can you tell what I'm about to talk about? It's very interesting because this is what would be considered an error coin. some coins have quite a bit of value based on their rarity, condition, and all of that. And then sometimes there's some sort of an error in the process of striking these. Sometimes they're off center, sometimes there's just a variety of things that can happen. But in this particular case, you can see that we've got a date here. Now, these would have been made somewhere in the oh goodness, I'm gonna say incorrectly. I believe it was like the maybe 1870s or 1880s, all the way up into the early 1900s, like maybe 1912, something like that. This particular one, as you can see, you got the 19, the O, or the 0, and then, oops, there's no other O there. This is not a situation where it's been worn off, which can happen with these. They just didn't, this just was an improper strike. So we got a 190. Now, this was not made in 190, CE, Common Era. This was made in probably 1900 or 1900 and something, but we don't know. So the fact that this is an error coin, I don't know how much more value it has, but it certainly has more value than the average of these nickels in this condition. So I'll be excited to throw that up here this week and see what you might fetch. Probably throw it up on auction. Now, when Peaches finds out that I'm talking about all of these ink pens and pencils and leads, he's going to get excited. That guy, I don't know why exactly, but he just loves these old pencils. And I mean, they are kind of cool. But what they got in this bag, I've not been hoarding necessarily, but I've just been kind of collecting them and throwing them in this bag in order to sell as a lot. But what you're looking at here, folks, are vintage containers of various sizes and hardnesses of pencil leads that would have gone into mechanical pencils. And you see I got a bunch of them here. These could be sold individually, they can be sold in small lots, or I could sell them all in one large lot. I'm probably going to break it up into 2 or 3 lots, try to get similar sizes and stuff like that, but you'd be surprised at the types of values that these can bring, and oftentimes you find these at thrift stores in baskets for just very little money. Over the course of the last couple of months, instead of going through and just trying to list them, I've just thrown them in a pile, right? And here now we've got a bunch of these older, some not that old, but some older mechanical pencils. Some of these at one time were in an antique store that I sell at. This one's got a person's name engraved on it. Various brands, mechanical pencils, and also ink pens can bring really good values depending on the brand. That's a Schaefer brand. Some of these are like this is like a Pentel, which is a newer one. What do we got on this one here? It's the Prismacolor. This is like a colored mechanical pencil, I believe. Well, maybe not. I think it could hold maybe colored leads. Look how wide that lead is, quite wide. It's still got the lead in it. Most of these do. Some of them you click on, some of them you spin. They got erasers on the back of them. Different shapes and sizes, but some of them are interesting. Here's a Schlitz brand. That's an alcoholic beverage brand name. Just a little old ballpoint clicker pen there. And then this one's cool. This is quite old. It's like a fountain pen. This is the portion that you'd open up that you could maybe fill it with, or I'm not exactly sure, but anyhow, cool stuff. I'm going to break these up again into similar lots. Here's a little fountain pen with no cap. That would have just sat down in like a thing a holder with like maybe the inkwell there. These definitely have value. Certain brands can bring really good money. So if you come across ones like this, and they're pretty cheap, do your research, but they're definitely worth picking up and selling. Over here we have some kind of cool things. Some old shot glasses. This is a really old one with really old script with sort of like a silver lining on the top. These are a couple that are older that have kind of the gold leaf kind of painted around the rim at the top. Some of them are fading a little bit. This has got a little bit of the that sort of frosted etching on it right there with crowns. I don't know if this is supposed to be a certain brand of liqueur or something. And then here's a little like a little shot glass type thing as well for maybe mixing. But it's for Jack Daniels, that brand. You can see it's definitely probably could use some polishing up. I may do that on the outside at least a little bit, just wipe her down so she's a little bit attractive looking. Over here we've got a little key, and this would have gone to crank the back of an old clock. You can see it's a square. That's sort of a telltale sign, a giveaway. And I like that it has a number on it, number 12. Now, I don't know which particular clock this went to, but I'm wondering if the 12, that's either an indication of the type of clock or maybe the size of the key itself. And so maybe a number 12 size key will fit multiple types of old clocks. If something's missing that and they want to crank it and use it, they may be needing to buy a replacement key. So that certainly has some value. This is a cool old, it's made to look like a cup, but it's made out of leather. It's got these little emblems on it, got a little a lion, which is kind of cool. On the bottom here, it says it's calf leather. It's Italian calf leather. And inside, I've dropped these in. These are some really old dies, and they're made of a substance called Bakelite. Bakelite's like a really old type of plastic. They used it in all kinds of things. They made dice out of it. They made poker chips out of it, different types of jewelry, handles for different stuff, old clocks or old radios. They made stuff out of them. So anyhow, these are interesting. They're so old that they can see how they've kind of started to sort of become misshapen and sort of depressed a little bit, but they're still interesting looking, and I just thought it'd be fun to throw them in there because I think that that's what this is for. It's for dice or whatever. You pour them out. This might be a cool little combo thing to throw out for sale. I had it in an antique store. It didn't sell for the price I wanted, but it's time to get rid of this stuff, folks. We got to get it in the store. This is a cool little saucer here. Beautiful white and blue, not exactly flow blue as it's fairly crisp, and it's not very large. You can see it fits in the palm of my hand, but if I turn it over, you're going to see that this is by a maker called Royal Copenhagen out of Denmark. It's got a number here and some sort of mark. This might have indicated the person who worked on it, but I'm guessing that the number has to do with like the size, shape, color pattern, something like that. Believe it or not, Royal Copenhagen, even pieces of this size can sell for really good money, and I'm talking like $50, $60, $75 for something this small. So keep a lookout for that particular brand, Royal Copenhagen. The whites and the blues sell really well for us, or have in the past anyhow. Here's just a handful of not terribly valuable, but vintage pocket knives. Sometimes these things can be gold filled. If you have a little hanger piece here where you can connect it, sometimes it says the brand. Sometimes it'll say that it's made out of sterling silver, or maybe it's gold filled. Here's another one, and you can see it's also got indication, and this one says, straight up says gold filled on it. So there's a thin layer of gold on the outside of it. And then here's a couple others I'll put up here. Nothing super valuable. You can see that the blades have been worn. They've been sharpened. But underneath one of these blades, oftentimes it'll say maybe where it's made. This one's made in the USA, and it'll say the brand or the maker. This has all of its blades, which is nice, and this one does too, but they're heavily worn. Camco USA. These aren't going to bring tons of money, but pocket knives always sell for us. I'm not worried or concerned about selling those. And then down here in this old cigar box I got, which is pretty cool. It's cigars for the Kuchlins or Kuchlins or Kucklin's restaurant in New York City, folks. And in here, we just got a variety of old buttons. Looks like we got a little belt buckle here. In fact, this could be made out of Bakelite. I should test it. There's all kinds of people out there who collect old buttons. They use them for various craft projects, this and that. Also, they may want them to put in a jar and put up on a shelf just for as an aesthetics. Just a way to make things look interesting. Looks like we got an old gear in here, maybe too. But anyhow, some cool stuff. This is not going to bring a lot of money, but I'm going to throw it in a jar. Or maybe I'll just leave it in this box and somebody will get a 2-for-1 deal. We got so many of these little trays of various things up in different shelving units and things, and it's time to start pulling them out. Probably put these up in some smaller lots, but we got some old costume brooches here. This one's not too bad. Got the rivets. It's a little bit faded in color-wise. It's got all its stones, which is nice, but the clear rhinestone ones don't usually sell as well as other ones that are larger and more vibrant in colors. Here's a nice one with some clear rhinestones, but you got this yellow painted enamel. It's a floral piece. Again, you got the rivets on the back, no maker mark. Let's look at a couple more here. This is like a little, a nice little earring piece, a set of earrings. The other one's over here. On the back, if we look, we'll see that it's by the Coro brand. Pleasant little green floral clip earrings there. Here's another nice piece. You got sort of like a simulated moonstone with prong settings on the top, some blue stones. Flipper over here. And I'm not seeing any maker's mark, but it does look like similar, like a Coro type piece. Here's some beautiful earrings with some ruby red. Look at that beautiful color there. Got all of its stones. Flip it over. Gonna pull this up and look. Not seeing a maker's name or mark, so we'll have to Google lens those and see. Got that pair right there. Here's another little, couple of them stuck together there. Another beautiful piece, the blue and the clear around. Flip this little rascal over. We got the rivet in the center, but no maker's mark. So these are all sort of low to mid-level, I would say, costume pieces, because a lot of them don't have marks. Here's another nice piece. This is a screw back. And again, we're looking at the Coro brand. So that might be nice. Maybe I could put together a cute little lot of Coro, specifically Coro stuff. And then these need a little bit more work. I don't usually polish up a lot of sterling silver, but these are going to be an exception. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these little salt and pepper shakers. Now, I can sell these in a whole set of 8, but I think what I'm going to do is, after I polish them, is do them in sets of 2. So 4 sets of 2, and here's why. Look at the back. These are Cartier brand sterling silver salt and pepper shakers. They're small, as you can see. I took off the lids, and I've already done 1 round of polishing. It's starting to look better, but it's still looking fairly rough. I need to get all of these really dark areas off. They don't have to look completely perfect, but I'm concerned I'm not going to get the price I want in the condition that they're in. Somebody just left them out in the garage or something. But Cartier, pretty high-end brand there. I was excited to get these at a silent auction at a Habitat for Humanity restore, believe it or not. So that was kind of cool. I'm going to get these all polished up and thrown up. I can do 1 listing of a pair, and then I can just put quantity 4. I don't have to make 4 listings. I can just make 1 listing, and that saves me time. And I can just throw it up, set it, forget it. If someone buys 1 pair, automatically it will reduce the quantity to 3. And I don't have to touch it or do anything else. Here's another little set of costume jewelry. None of these, I believe, are like super valuable pieces. They, they have some value. Someone's going to be interested in buying them, but a lot of them are pretty tarnished and worn. If I show you, like right here, see how this is kind of flaking off? That's not good. But it's designed, it's put together okay. We got those rivets in the back again, various pieces, but you can see nice, but we're missing some rhinestones. Uh-oh, that's not good. That's going to have to go in a lot of just sort of like broken or used pieces. Also, look at the heavy green corrosion on the back. I like the openness of letting the light through on that 1 stone, but that's just plastic, folks. It's not even glass. It's not very heavy. Here's an interesting pair. Probably came from Japan or Hong Kong. It looks like the kind of stuff that was coming from that era out of those countries. And then various things. We got some necklaces in here. If you see something in these and I don't mention it, you think it might have some value, please leave me a comment. Let me know. But this is all, I think I put all this in as I'm looking at it because it wasn't all that nice, or maybe it was slightly, some of them were damaged. Yep, you can see this has come unglued from whatever it was on. It's been painted. So nothing great, but folks, this stuff still has value. Here's a little earring piece with some interesting stones. But I can throw these in just for crafting purposes, and somebody might want that. I've got some really cool old cameras here, folks, which I've had at an antique store for a while. We do really well. I like to source these on eBay for cheap and then sell them locally for more. They haven't sold, so I'm going to actually try my hand at throwing these up on eBay. But what you're looking at are cameras anywhere from the early 1900s into the 1920s. This, of course, is more 1920s era. You can see the Art Deco design on it. But these are all would be considered, approaching medium format, but still probably small to medium format. This is a model, Kodak, is the 3A, and it's ones like this that people use to take photographs and turn them into postcards of their own photos and send them to their friends and family. They operate they can expand out of the box. This can be shut back up into the box, and it can stand up. It's got a little stand right here that says Kodak. As you can see, it pops down. It would just sit on a tabletop. I think that they're really cool to put on bookshelves or, nightstands, things like that. They're really cool. People can refurbish these, make them look nice, and sometimes people even still use them. In the cases of the ones I'm showing you, all the bellows are in really good shape. They are made of leather, and this is probably from around 1910, 1912, something like that. Quite old, pretty cool. This is the Kodak Junior 3A. Over here, we've got a Model 1, I believe. Yep, number 1. Kodak Codex. Again, see, that's how the little stand would drop down there, and it just stands. But these are so nifty. There's definitely a market for this kind of stuff. Sometimes you can find them for real cheap because people assume nobody uses them or nobody cares or would want them anymore. It's simply not true, folks. There's some really cool ones out there, and if you get into the medium or large format, 4x4 size or larger, sometimes they can bring really dramatic high values if they have really nice lenses by respected makers, or if they're really in good condition and they're still usable, they don't have any sort of defects inside that would cause the pictures to have markings or things whenever you develop them, then there's definitely a large market out there of people who collect cameras. I just think that they're super interesting, and I love the history. Real fast, folks, I just wanted to plug our other YouTube channels. We've got others that you want to check out. Postcard Planet and What's Sold are the ones that are most active. What's Sold is where we go through specifically things that we have sold. We show you in eBay what we sold them for, and we talk about our pricing, our sales strategies, those kinds of things. We also have a podcast out, the What's Sold podcast. So whether you're a full-time reseller or you just do things as a hobby, if you want to learn and maybe you wouldn't mind listening on your way to work or something, check it out. You can find that podcast on all types of streaming platforms, and the video version is on our What's Sold YouTube channel. Please check that out. We're in the instrument area here of the warehouse, and I just wanted to go over kind of stuff we got up here right now. What you're looking at is a 1969 Gibson B25 Deluxe acoustic guitar. It's in pristine condition. It's almost like it's never been used, honestly. It's excellent condition. The only defect here is right here. You got this little crack, but that's just in the finish, folks. It doesn't even go into the wood. So it's just aesthetic. You need to know that it's there, but keep an eye on it. But it's fine. You can see on the inside it says B25D. That's the deluxe. I believe that the deluxe version was one that had X bracing, which time has shown is a better system of bracing the top to prevent lifting from below the bridge here, as the tension on the springs will the strings kind of pull up on that, and a lot of times you get this little bowing down here. That's not good. No bueno. But this is great. We got that up in the store. This is the most recent one we pulled in. This is a Guild. It's an M20 solid mahogany side back. I paid what did I pay for this? I paid only, $900, but I got a $250 refund because there was some damage to it that I needed to repair or have repaired. So I'm only in this for about $750. This is easily a $2,000 to $2,400 instrument, and she sounds great. She's light as a feather. We got this nice vintage Ace guitar strap here, which I absolutely love. It's probably my favorite one that they made. This exact color scheme, this design design with the kind of the reds, the sort of the ochre color, and a little bit of this green. I think it looks really good with this guitar. And if you ever come across these vintage Ace brand guitar straps, and the way you know it's Ace, see if I can pull it up here, right here. Do you see this? It says Ace with the little that little symbol, that emblem. These, depending on the particular style, can sell, folks, for over $100 a piece. A guitar for just one guitar strap, Rusty, from the 1960s and 70s. Yes, sir. Keep an eye out for them. Here's the one we just got back. Had someone do some work for us in West North Carolina. She did such a great job. Gibson, this is a 1948 LG2 acoustic guitar. And you'll see that this LG2 and this B25 Deluxe, the body style is almost identical. Well, folks, that's because when the LG2 was discontinued, they basically picked back up with the B25. It's an X-braced, smaller, it's not exactly a parlor-sized guitar, but it's fairly small. This had some work that needed to be done. Specifically, it had a major dip right here, which you can still see slightly, but she rebraced everything on the inside, re-glued stuff. It lifted the top, and luckily, once that was all done, it was not necessarily needing a neck reset yet. I was very excited. I also did not opt to have it refretted this time, so the work was negligible. Well, it was a good amount of work. The cost was negligible, but again, you can see we have another one of these nice, beautiful Ace guitar strap here. You can see this has got the green. This has just got the sort of that lavender, that kind of darker red color there. Gorgeous guitar. Flat pickers, folk singers, bluegrass musicians love this particular guitar, and I gotta say, it sounds fantastic. And then, of course, this is our 1960 Gibson J 45. It's a larger bout, as you can see. It's a larger body, has a beautiful sound. This one was completely overhauled when I bought it. I only paid $900 for this instrument at an estate sale, but it had a significant crack on the back of the headstock, which was repaired. It's got a beautiful rosewood fretboard there, and we had it completely refretted. We had bracing redone on the inside, and the bridge was cracked, unfortunately, so a local luthier did completely fabricated a brand new bridge. This actually was originally what they called an adjustable saddle, so it was made of like a ceramic substance, and you could move these knobs with your fingers to raise or lower the saddle to adjust the string height and maybe affect the intonation. But I opted to have just a very basic saddle that's non-adjustable because it stays in tune better that way. I've still got the original bridge and saddle. If I ever sell this, then I can get it. And again, we got a nice Ace strap. All of these are for sale, are going to be up for sale soon in our eBay store. And I haven't even really gotten into all the work that I've been doing on these mandolins. We got a 1928 A0 or AO model right here, Gibson. This is like a sort of an unknown, or not real well known. I don't really know. It says the Royalist, something like that. Mandolin, I only paid $20 for that. I've been doing some work. We got a 1930s sort of a blues guitar there, and kind of a newer resonator. I like that one as well. And then slipping over here, I wanted to talk about a little creative project I've been working on. So if I can take this and slide it out so we can look at it. I bought an old organ at a thrift store for $20, folks. $20. It didn't work. The bellows were missing underneath. It wasn't operational, although all the original components were here. It's by the Taylor and Farley Company in Worcester, Massachusetts. I looked this up, and I don't remember the exact dates, but it's somewhere in the 1850s to the late 1860s, early 1870s when they were manufacturing musical instruments. This was an organ that was a smaller size called a melodeon. And really, really cool instrument. The problem was I could not fix it. I wasn't going to be able to sell it in the state that it was in, and I wasn't going to be able to repair it back to its original, form. And so I thought, what do? I don't want to dump this. No one wants to buy it in the condition. So this is what I chose to do. I chose to make an art project out of it. So what I did was I harvested this piece, which I can't remember what it's called, but you know these. It's the part that sits on top of a piano or an organ that the sheet music would lay on. So I removed it, and then I have subsequently drilled holes in the back and screwed it into this piece. This piece, as you can see a little catch right here for a latch, this is the part on the top of the organ that would have laid on the top to cover it when it was not in use. Then when you wanted to use it, you would open up the top, and then you would fold this section up as well to hold the music, and that would expose these keys. So I took this part, which was a two-part. It has a hinge here. So that's essentially the top portion. And then I've harvested these keys, as you can see. Beautiful keys. I believe that these are made out of a substance called pyrolin, which is sort of like some sort of a composite, I believe, of maybe some sort of dust and glue. I'm not exactly sure. It's not ivory. It's not bone. And you can see it has these interesting striations, which sort of indicate that that's what it is. And then the black keys here are made of ebony wood, black ebony. Gorgeous. And so what old Rusty decided to do was, I want to turn this into a piece of art that could be hung on a wall. And so what you have here is the finished product. You have all of the keys, which I have glued down into this particular pattern on the top here. You can see that the maker is clearly stated with the old script, which is cool, and then this piece at the top. And this is made, now I've got bracing on the creases on the back. I will today buy some hangers to put in the corners, and then this can now be a piece of artwork that can hang on the wall. I'll probably photograph it. I don't know what I'm going to try to sell it for, because it's sort of salvaged from original and old musical parts and components to be turned into a new creation. I'll probably try my hand at selling it on Etsy first, because that platform is more for creative pieces that have been maybe made by someone. But I'm going to stick this puppy up on the wall here next to the guitars while all of it's for sale, and just enjoy the beauty of it for now. I hope you guys enjoy that. I just bring this up to say, if you have items that you have a hard time selling, maybe you see that there's value in it, but you need to put your creative mind to the test, don't be afraid to mix and match some things to create something that's unusual or interesting that maybe isn't out there. I can't do comps on this because there aren't any others like this. It's a one-of-a-kind thing. That could be good, that could be bad. I don't exactly know what I'll price it as yet, but I feel like this is the type of thing that a musician, particularly a pianist, maybe even a professional musician, might enjoy having in on their wall around where they like to produce their music. This was a really cool document that I came across in a lot of old stamps. As I was going through a bunch of stamps, I've got hundreds of thousands of stamps that I need to go through and figure out how to sell those properly. Some have individual values, others need to be sold in large lots. But I got this little document called, and it says, the domain of the Golden Dragon, the international dateline, the ruler of the ISO, or the 180th meridian, to all sailors, soldiers, marines, wherever ye may be, and to all mermaids, flying dragons, spirits of the deep, devil chasers, and all other living creatures of the yellow seas, greetings. Know ye that on this 12th day of the March 1948, at this particular latitude and longitude, there appeared within the limits of this august dwelling the U.S. General John Pope. Okay, so what we're looking at here, folks, is this interesting, colorful certificate. You've got these women with long flowing hair and dragons. These are mermaids, I'm assuming, with dragons. And good to see the dragons and the beautiful women getting along here. But what the Golden Dragon certificate is this is some sort of like a unofficial award or so that the United States Navy handed out to crew members and ships that cross the international dateline. So the idea being that, as the story goes, when a sailor they enter into the Dragon's Empire when they cross the international dateline, when they're sailing west, because the Asian nations were celebrating the power of the dragon. This is very much a World War II era document, as you can see, 1948 here, the U.S. General John Pope. At first I thought that was the name of a general, like a person. But no, the USS General John Pope was a troop transport ship in the U.S. Navy in the midst of World War II. It was under contract in 1943. It launched in 1943, and so this is in 48. So it had been out on the seas for at least well, it says, is that 48? I don't know if that's 40 or not, because I believe that this was, it was 1943 is when it was launched, and it was decommissioned around 1946, and then was back again in 1950. Is in commission from 1950 to 1970. But anyways, this particular individual who was awarded this, General so-and-so Anderson here, to me, this is such a cool thing. I've come across old postcards that show scenes of this type of event when they were actually dressing up and having a ceremony on a warship. These are really cool. This particular document sells ones like this anywhere from $25 to $35, and so that's great. I was happy, excited to see it because I love the history of it. And for those who are unaware, these kind of cool naval ceremonies have been happening since all the way back into, I want to say, the late 1800s, early 1900s. Back over here at the table, I've got a little pile here of what you can tell are Halloween-oriented items. All of these, the thing that they all have in common is that they are all very old. They're vintage and or really old items. This is like a door hanger of a kind of a creepy looking pumpkin here. We got a really old school kind of like plastic pumpkin, evil pumpkin mask. We've got some more like little cardboardy. This kind of is made, it's got some tissue paper there to make it look like wings. It's supposed to stand and sort of lay back. Here we've got a cool, this thing kind of pops up and curls around. It's an old kind of a witch around a cauldron. As you can see, as it comes out here, you got this with the hat, a skull in one hand, a broom in the other, standing over a cauldron. It folds up, it sits on a desk or a table. Here's some little party favors, trick or treat, little, blow these things, party designs. It's never been opened or used. Here is, this is like an old, like little hat, like a party hat, party favor hat for like a Halloween party. Probably back in the 1950s, 1960s. And then this is cool. It's like a cardboard lantern. You open it up, you put like a candle inside of it or something to make some light, and it would shine through the tissue paper there of the skull and crossbones. And then finally we got this little old black cat. And this is made, it's a candle. It's like a wax candle, and you've got the little wick up here at the top, as you can see. But it's a little black cat. It's not been used. So these older ones, like this candle, like the hat, like this lantern, these things can sometimes sell for $100 or more a piece. And so I don't know if I'm going to put these up individually or I could make a really nice old lot. I'm not going to get as much money per item if I do it that way, but I might be able to attract more interest and more buyers. These are optimally sold about a month or so, a couple of weeks out from Halloween. So I'm going to put them at a higher price right now. And if I don't get what I want, then I will, I may lower the price a little bit, or I might just hold on to them until Halloween, because that's the best time. You got a peak of interest. Then I got a couple more items here that I'm going to try to go. This has got a little bit of, people have laid cups and stuff on it. I'm going to try to wipe it off. But what you're looking at here is just a really nice, older, solid wood, very well constructed jewelry box. I use this a lot of times for jewelry lots that I'm going to list. I'll put them in this as a way of displaying them and making them look really nice. I come across these types of things all the time, though, and I don't want to just hold on to them. This is a very beautiful solid wood piece. piece. It's rosewood. I need to sell it. I need to just get rid of it. And then this also is really nice. It's also, I've got it laying on its back, of course, but we got some beautiful a darker rosewood on the outside piece. You got some dovetailed notches here in these little handles, but this is sort of like an Asian piece. These little doors kind of slide out here. It's carved, hand carved. It's a dragon coming down, so this is like an Asian motif here. Very beautiful piece. I don't really have any use for it or need. I'm not going to really display jewelry in it, but this is the kind of thing, if a person likes the Asian sort of design in things, then they might be interested in this. Really, really old ones like this from China or Japan, wherever this was made, can sell for $1,000 or more. This is probably going to be more in the $250 to $350 range, but it is a beautiful piece. There are eBay buyers and sellers out there that make a living by selling clothing. And I don't do that. I don't mess with it a whole lot. Sometimes I'll buy and sell some shoes. On a handful of occasions, I'll mess with clothing. But it's time to sell these. They've just been sitting in a bin. I've sported them a few times just for fun. But what you're looking at here are a couple of pieces I bought at thrift stores over the last year. And these are a vintage from the 1980s pair of Levi 501 stone-washed jeans that have been cut off to be shorts. On top of that, somebody has made some fun little doodles with a red Sharpie on here, and we have approximately 61 various patches that have been sewn onto this. We got musical, Iron Maiden, The Who, Rush, okay? We got Lake Tahoe with a cute little squirrel here. We got some TMNT going on. We got some flags and some different things from different countries, some sports regalia, and then we've got other things, Beatles, Duran Duran. We've got NASCAR, another Iron Maiden, some Jack Daniels, some whiskey stuff, Alabama. And then you flip this puppy over, and we're sitting on the Clash and on the Beatles. Back here, Thin Lizzy, the Daytona 500, Special Forces from Vietnam, U2. Oh my goodness, the Marines. Let's go out and play some tennis, or whatever that is, Judas Priest. Paris, I mean, it's hilarious, folks. It's great. But you can see right here is the original, thing that shows it's the Levi's. They're 501s. They're 3130s. 30 is not important anymore because they're cut off to be jeans, but these would be considered the, red line, selvage, original, vintage Levi cut-off shorts. Man, oh man, you're making a statement if you're wearing these puppies. I have no idea what they'll sell for because there are no comps for something like that. We're going to do our best. And then what we got here is probably a small to medium size fishing vest. On the back there, it's got a pouch that you would put your pole in to hold it. You could store other things like lures and tackle and stuff in here. But someone has taken and stuck on dozens of these vintage pin backs. These pins, various things. We've got locations, we've got countries represented, we've got old Russian and communist types of buttons here, China experience, kiss the year goodbye, Hawaii, save the Hawaii's humpback whales. We got Gore 2000, presidential campaign button, New Zealand. Got a right here at Canada with looks like a large Native American headdress. New Year's, I mean, just it goes on. 1992, Happy 92, and other things, folks. It's wild. There's so much going on here. A Hillsborough Bicentennial. Jesus is the key. And whatever this is, it's just wild. I don't know what was going on here. Again, I have no way of getting comps on this. The value, I think, is primarily in the pins themselves. Just like, I don't know, over here, it could be the buyer might be wanting after the patches. The buyer might want the Levi cutoffs because they can have some value, or maybe they want it as a whole item. I don't know, but we're going to pull it up. When you find odd, unique items like this, of course, you got to do research and try to determine pricing. but sometimes you can't find prices because they're one-of-a-kind items. One-of-a-kind items, it's sort of like a big risk. On the one hand, if it's gonna have a lot of interest, then maybe you can sell it at a premium because you have no competitors. But if it's so odd that like it may be hard to find a buyer in the first place. So I don't know. Stay tuned. We'll let you know if we get any interest on these. Probably going to throw up them up as at auction and let the market dictate the price because I couldn't say. I don't even know where to start. Thanks again, folks, for tuning in today. We hope so much that you have good luck with your treasure hunting this week. We'll be back next week with some more fun and hopefully informational stuff for you. Be safe. Take care, cousins. Rusty, how to, Rusty.